Message is taken from 2 Kings chapter 5 verses 1 through 14. And the title of today's message is actually, I think, on the marquee. Here's the test. Somebody read that? You did. Elisha told. Okay, that's close enough. Close enough. Charlotte will give you your money later. I'm going to read now. It's a rather long reading, and don't worry, my message is rather short. I've done this before. You know what it means when a pastor, preacher, whatever, takes his watch off and puts it on the desk or up on the pulpit? Absolutely nothing. The reading is from 2 Kings chapter 5 verses 1 through 14. It is continuing in the life of the prophet Elisha. Elijah around 730, 740 BC. He's in northern Israel. The northern kingdom split. He's in northern Israel. They're under oppression. They're being attacked by Assyria. Assyria, in just a few years, will completely overrun the northern kingdom and scatter the people. They'll be gone. They'll be scattered out all over the place. So they're under the rule of Syria, which is called Iran, Armenia. Okay? That's happening right now. This is where this takes place. Now, Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great and honorable man in the eyes of his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was also a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out on a raid and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Israel. She waited on Naaman's wife. Then she said to her mistress, "If only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy." And Naaman went in and told his master, saying, Thus said the girl who is from the land of Israel. And then the king of Syria said, "Go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. And then he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which said, "Now be advised, when this letter comes to you, that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may heal him of his leprosy." And it happened, when the king of Israel read the letter, that he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to kill and make alive? And this man sends a man to me to heal him of his leprosy? Therefore, please consider and see how he seeks a quarrel with me." So it was, when Elijah, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, "Why have you torn your clothes? Please let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel." Then Naaman went with his horses and his chariot, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became furious, and he went away and said, "Indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over this place and heal the leprosy. Are not the Abana and the Pharpar and the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" So he turned and he went away in a rage. And his servant came near and spoke to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he says to you, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and he dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was in the breeding. The background to this intriguing story is the history of conflict between Israel and Syria, Iran. The conflictual relationship made it difficult to conduct normal affairs, especially those involving officials of two nations. And you think about it. Here it is, this mighty man of valor. His name is Naaman. He's general of the Syrian army, and he has leprosy. So he goes to his king, who is a conquering king. He says, there's a prophet down in Israel. I need to go see, because he will heal me of my leprosy. How difficult would that be? Okay, here he is, king of Aram. He's already conquered most of Israel. He is in power. Yet he's going to go ask the king that he's controlling to heal his general. It's just a little bit tough, wouldn't you think? I'm not sure how this took place. The fact that the king of Aram is willing to ask for help from the king of Israel on behalf of Naaman indicates the high regard in which this general is held. He is a mighty warrior, through whose courage and foresight Aram had won many victories over neighboring nations, including Israel. And there's the problem. Okay? Now we get into this story. The fact of the defeat of Israel by Naaman's army is inferred by the identification of Naaman's wife's slave as a young Israelite who was grabbed as a captive and brought back to Syria. Now the Armenians, they had captured this girl on a raid. And what I'd like to ask us to focus on is in the context of this story. The writer grabs his audience's attention by using contrast between characters. There is great contrast here. Here you have Naaman, a great warrior. And the Hebrew word here is gadol, great. It is more than great that's translated into English. What it means is valiant, fearless, fearsome, brilliant. You get the picture. He is a valiant warrior. He is a mighty man. He is a Douglas MacArthur, George Patton, and John Wayne all wrapped up in one person. This great man, this gadol, is followed in the same sentence as with a little diminutive Jewish girl. It's just like, and this little Jewish girl comes and saves this mighty man of valor. And then later we see more contrast as Naaman shows up with a mighty war machine with his chariots and his armed men and his forces. And he shows up at the front yard of Elisha the prophet. Elijah the prophet didn't have much. He probably lived in a hut. Just barely a roof over his head. And here this mighty war machine shows up. More contrast. And then we see this general show up, and he's got probably today's currency. He has gold and silver and clothing, maybe bolts of this fabric that's very valuable. Over $5 million worth. Now here he is bringing gold back to a nation that he just pillaged. The contrast here, this mighty man, he's rich, he's got all this gold the king has sent him with in front of this little humble prophet. Okay, you see the contrast. Well, you're going to see some flipping happening because he's going to go to Elijah, and this poor prophet is going to be the mighty man of God, and Naaman is going to be humbled before God. The great general Naaman bows before God, and Naaman is no longer valued because of his greatness, but because of the great I am. He comes to him because he has leprosy. It's a terrible affliction, and it is now incapacitated Naaman. The disease is developing and it limits his capacity as commanding general of the army. This word that's used here in the Hebrew to describe leprosy is mesra. Mesra. He has mesra, which is a death sentence. There's nothing they can do about it. Nothing at all. He knows he is a dead man walking. And soon he won't be able to carry out his duties as general of the armies of Syria. this Israelite slave girl in Naaman's household offers what is likely the only possible hope for the cure for Naaman. She tells her mistress that there is a prophet in Samaria that can cure leprosy. The prophet's name is Elijah. Elisha, the great man of God. The fierce opponent of the worship of other gods. The fierce opponent of the god Baal, who is worshipped by the Syrians. Okay? So you get the picture. The help comes from a slave who's also a female. She represents a nation which Naaman's army has defeated in the past, and therefore there are several reasons why Naaman will have to overcome his pride in order to go hat in hand and ask Elijah to cure his disease. First, he comes in desperation. It's the kind of desperation that sometimes pushes people to search for unconventional solutions to serious problems. Desperation. Have you ever felt it? Desperation. Desperation in your life. Maybe a disease, maybe a relationship. Maybe it's monetary desperation. Desperation drives some people into the black market in search of medicines that our society doesn't sanction. This desperation is the kind of desperation that sometimes drives lonely people to marry abusers. And it's the desperation that may cause a materially poor person to take out a rash loan. Okay? Desperation. I bet that Naaman had visited every quack and tried every herbal remedy his country had to offer. He's probably tried everything and nothing's working. He's desperate now. He turns to his wife's slave, an unlikely source. She is as weak as Naaman is powerful. Yet this young Israelite has connections. She insists she knows someone who has a cure for this mesrah, this leprosy. Now, when Naaman's king hears about it, he gives the mighty Naaman permission to chase his desperation. The stricken soldier heads straight for his wife's slave's home country, into Israel, Samaria. But he doesn't go to the home of the prophet. He first goes to the king. He goes to the king's palace in Caesarea. He travels to the king's palace. It's almost as if you were bleeding to death and you went to City Hall instead of a hospital. Apparently Naaman can't imagine anything but a political solution to his disease. And I'm sure that some of you may be there. Maybe nothing can fix me, but maybe the government can fix me. So he thinks maybe City Hall will fix him up. Naaman comes and he comes with a lot of money. Sometimes, however, money can't buy health. Sometimes, in fact, not even the most powerful people and things can heal people. Israel's king that he goes to certainly can't do it. In fact, he can't even understand why this enemy soldier, this general, has come to him anyway. He thought he came to provoke a fight. And he tells Naaman, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do for you. And then Elijah appears. And Elijah sent word to the king, send him to me. Now Naaman desperately turns to Elisha. He does so with another display of his might. He comes with his chariots, he comes with his army, he comes with his horses, his mighty war machine. He shows up on Elijah's front porch. You'd think Elijah would be quaking in his shoes now with this rumble of the chariots. It's like a Sherman tank coming towards you. It doesn't impress Elisha. Naaman had hoped for a miracle worker who would actually reach out and say a few words, put a little ointment on him and heal him, and that would be done. Elijah, however, he doesn't even greet him at the door. He tells him, go jump in the lake and do it 7 times. He says, go to the Jordan. Go to the muddy Jordan and dip in it 7 times. Maybe Elijah was telling Naaman, you need to get rid of your pride. Maybe Naaman hoped Elijah would just take care of him with a word. Naaman was a very popular popular man. He was a national hero who had been victorious over the enemies of the nation of Aram. And upon his head were the laurels of the wreaths of victory. Upon his chest, the medal of honor. Naaman wants an elaborate spectacle that's appropriate for such a mighty military hero. The soldier doesn't yet understand that a far different might is at work in his life. So while Elisha remains silent and aloof, Naaman storms off in a huff like a child that just been told he couldn't have a cookie before he went to bed. He's mad. This story, the memory of this story would later infuriate Jesus' contemporary, the scribes and the Pharisees, when Jesus told about Naaman being cured, when there were many Israelites that were suffering from leprosy in Israel, and none of them were cured. God chose to heal him while apparently neglecting similarly stricken of the Jews. And I think that goes to show we don't just, after all, always get to choose how God heals. You and I don't even get to choose whom God heals. We don't get to choose whom God will save either. Our job is to teach people that God loves them so much that He would die for them. We don't get to choose who God will save, and how dare we make a list and declare that everyone on the right side of the list is saved and everyone on the left side of the list is condemned. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 8, he said, "Don't tell me about condemnation, for therefore is no more condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus." So don't make a list and say who is condemned and who is not. Leave that to someone with a higher pay grade than you have. It was hard for Naaman to do the simple thing that God required for his healing. He wanted something bold and dramatic. Not a bath in the Jordan's murky waters. I think when you and I hit situations in life, if we break a bone, like a cast right there. Yeah. 6 places? The 6th, oh my. I think I've seen a cast on you before. Okay? When we get hurt, when we come down with a disease, we want God to heal us in a dramatic way. And sometimes it happens. And sometimes doctors surgically remove malignancies. God has even used what we sometimes call faith healers to dramatically heal people. And I'm assured that it still happens. Sometimes, perhaps often. However, God chooses to work far more quietly. God uses the medicine to slowly lift depression. God uses prescription to heal strep throat. God uses therapy to lighten a heavy burden on our hearts. Yet whether it's splashy or subtle, sudden or gradual, it's God who gives the healing. All of us, we love big and bold stories of spiritual healing. People who have been Christians all their known lives. In fact, sometimes envy people who can point to the exact day or time that God made them a Christian. Sometimes, however, God simply works slowly and quietly through godly people to draw those who struggle to the Lord. Some conversions even seem messy and gradual, more like dipping yourself 7 times in the muddy Jordan. Well, there goes Naaman. He's talked into it by one of his servants. He said, if he'd have told you to climb the highest mountain, if he'd have told you you had to slay a whole nation, if he'd have told you you had to swim the ocean, you would have done it, Naaman. But what did he tell you to do? Something simple. Go wash in the Jordan. So why don't we do it? Naaman decided, okay. He goes to the Jordan and he dips in it. And you can almost see it. The first time he dips in it, it's still here. He dips in it again and he tells the servant, look, I told you, look, no issue. 3rd time, 4th time, same thing. And the 7th time he felt something happen. He comes out of the muddy Jordan and his leprosy, the Nesra, is gone. He falls on his face and he says, there is a God, and the God is the God of Israel. Not the God of Aram, but the God of Israel. And he says, I believe. Thank you, God. He is healed. His mesra, his leprosy kept him and humbled him. His issue was pride. And sometime in his life, he was inflicted or exposed to this tiny bacteria called leprosy. And I guess God used that to make a mighty statement in this man's life. To tell people God reaches out to those in their affliction. What is your mesra? What is it that brought you to the point in your life where you realized you were in need of God and the saving grace of Jesus Christ? He welcomes us. He welcomes us just as we are. Mesra and all. Your mesra, by the way, whatever it be, has been healed, for it has been dipped not in the muddy Jordan, but in the blood that flowed from Emmanuel's vein. We are all healed through Christ. Amen. Just as we are. We're going to sing a song in just a moment. And it's Just As I Am. And I've heard this song sung. As a matter of fact, I used to hear it sung. It was one pastor would say, we're going to sing this song till somebody comes forward. So we're just going to sing the first 4 verses today. All right? And we're going to stop. But if the Spirit of God is touching your heart, and you need prayer, if He's telling you, I want you to proclaim Jesus Christ as your Lord and heal your mesra today, come forward during this song of invitation. The serving elder and I will meet you at the altar.